Alright, hello everyone and welcome to WWE Discussion. I am your host and WWE enthusiast Dougie Doug. In today's episode I'm going to discuss Monday Night Raw, January 22nd, 2024 edition. And this edition of Monday Night Raw had a couple of big things going for it. Number one was an update from Seth Rollins himself about the extent of his knee injury and what it means for WrestleMania, as well as Cody Rose and CM Punk coming face to face in what was an epic promo segment. And with that, we'll go ahead and get right into the action, starting with Seth Rollins himself. And it is a huge risk that WWE is taking by not only letting Seth Rollins keep the world title, but also hoping that he will be healthy by WrestleMania. Huge risk for WWE, huge risk for Seth Rollins. And despite the risk, it was still an impressive declaration that Rollins, after not only confirmed the extent of his knee injury, but also saying that he's going to make it to WrestleMania after rehabbing a grade 2 MCL tear and meniscus tear over just 2 months. That's a tough ask, maybe even an impossible one. But Rollins has shown time and again that he is a workhorse performer. He will compete through the pain. You look at his back injury that's been highlighted recently last year. I think, if he's willing to compete through that, I don't know how much he's going to, if he can prevent a knee injury from slowing him down, he's going to prevent it from slowing him down. Because I think we all know Seth Rollins will do anything to make it to the biggest show of the year and compete in the most important match of his career. The expectation is that Rollins will face Punk at WrestleMania, with both men ready to main event that show for the World Heavyweight Championship. I think that's been pretty much confirmed from internet, or I guess from wrestling insiders, as they would be called, that despite the injury, they're still planning for this to happen. And truth be told, that match has more hype than perhaps any other match for WrestleMania. However, pushing Rollins to return before he's completely healthy could risk further injury and also probably risk his career as well. Hopefully everything will work out, fingers crossed, but it will be more important to set up a backup plan, possibly Damian Priest cash in, or have CM Punk compete against Drew McIntyre instead. There's a little bit of backstory. Those two already had a face-to-face segment, so you can certainly transition into that. But my question is say Punk's not ready, or Rollins is not ready, will WWE have given itself enough time to build up another match? I guess we'll see, but hopefully Seth Rollins is able to come back, and hopefully he's able to compete well enough and not make it look like he's slowed down by a knee injury when he steps in the ring. Bayley, I think it's safe to say Bayley here is the favorite to win the Women's Royal Rumble. She made a rare appearance on Raw and showed why she is ready to win the Women's Royal Rumble match. While both Nia Jax and Becky Lynch could claim victory on Saturday, the role model is the best option. The man has already won the Women's Rumble match, and it makes more sense for her to win the Elimination Chamber match this year to earn her shot at a title match at WrestleMania. Few women in WWE right now have a better story than Bayley. She's a long-time veteran who has struggled to get her definitive moment. She put together damage control to elevate herself and multiple women in the industry. Her work helped take Io Sky to the top of WWE, winning Money in the Bank and successfully cashing in to win the Women's Championship. While the role model stated that her goal is to challenge Rhea Ripley and bring home the gold damage control, it's more likely she ends up challenging the Genius of the Sky. The conflict over which champion the challenge will give Bayley a spotlight on the road to WrestleMania. This is an opportunity she has never been given, but has certainly earned. So Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley, Bayley versus Io Sky, locking in for WrestleMania. Should be a couple of good women's title matches there. Cody Rose and CM Punk. Great promo segment that showed why these guys are going to be in the main event of WrestleMania this year. These guys finally met face-to-face on Raw and neither held back. Monday's face-offs told each man is the biggest threat to the other's immediate success. Punk is the biggest talking point in WWE since his return in November. The question was, what would he do next? Well, we know what that is. He has his sights set on winning the Royal Rumble and being in the main event at WrestleMania. Rhodes came up just short at WrestleMania 39 after winning the Royal Rumble last year. His story is finished, but he still has the same goal of beating Roman Reigns and winning the Undisputed Universal Championship. Punk and Rhodes clashed over their shared history, speaking biting truths about their legacies in WWE, and selling why fans need to see both of them reach their destined fate at WrestleMania 40. This should be the first step in both men holding the world titles in 2024 at the same time, and carrying Raw and SmackDown forward. and many moments will be especially exciting. So yeah, just imagine coming out of WrestleMania with CM Punk as the World Heavyweight Champion and Cody Rhodes as the undisputed Universal Champion. What a sight that would be. I'm good with that. Damian Priest. Is it time for him to leave the Judgment Day? I'll go ahead and answer the question. Say yeah, it's time for him to leave. He's been Money in the Bank for he's been Senior Money in the Bank for 6 months, and he looks less ready to cash in now than he did on the night he won the briefcase. The Judgment Day is still the top group on Raw, but that has not elevated anyone except Rhea Ripley. Priest and Balor still hold the Undisputed Tag Team Championships, and there has been some focus lately on that. Even so, the Prince and Punishment don't seem to be on the same page. Priest is struggling to get along with anyone Judgment Day at the moment, trying to be the leader of the group when Ripley keeps trying to, or I guess he's in a power struggle with Rhea Ripley for a leadership position. If the Arch of Infamy can escape the shadow of Ripley and even Balor before cashing in to become world champion, he has a better chance to stand out next to the big personalities on Monday Night Raw. And truth be told, you would think right now it's an ideal time for him to cash in with Seth Rollins' injury, but if the plan is for him to defend the title at WrestleMania, then I guess it doesn't happen before then. But if it doesn't happen before then when does it happen afterwards? That's the thing too, is that I like Damian Priest winning the briefcase. I just don't like how it doesn't look like there's a plan for him to actually win the world title. That's the thing that's just always bugged me about his run as Senior Money in the Bank. In conclusion, there's a lot to like about this show. Seth Rollins' announcement was a big deal, as was the face-to-face confrontation between CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. In between, there was some great brawling from the New Day and Imperium, a tag team feud that, well, Ella has continually elevated itself through the performance from the performers involved. Chad Gable and Ivar had the best match of the night. The Judgment Day stole disintegration continued. The friendship between Priest and R-Truth hit a speed bump, and the women's tag team division continues to be featured as Triple H attempts to drag that roster out of the abyss and into prestige. With that said, there seemed to be a lack of urgency surrounding the Royal Rumble throughout the show. The event and the men's and women's Rumble matches did get their hype in individual segments, but what should have been a major selling job felt more subdued in years past. Perhaps that is because Triple H and his creative team feel like they have done a good enough job selling the intrigue around surrounding the Rumble matches themselves. I could certainly see that. I mean, the Royal Rumble is not necessarily an event that needs a whole lot of selling, because for the most part it sells itself. That's not to say you can't do anything to make it more must-see, but it sells itself enough to where you don't have to go over the top to try to sell it. And I think Triple H and his creative team have done a good enough job letting the Royal Rumble sell itself, and then adding on some extra stuff like the Fatal 4-Way Undisputed Universal title match, like Logan Paul versus Kevin Owens, to make the Royal Rumble more must-see. Maybe it's the overly long time on Raw that prevents this from feeling like a big go-home show feel. Whatever the case is, it was lacking Monday night. Still, there was more good than bad. And one last thing before we conclude this episode, I did see the news break earlier this morning that Monday Night Raw is moving over to Netflix in 2025, so I'm assuming that means Raw remains on USA Network for the remainder of 2024, and then moves over to Netflix. So I guess I'm getting a Netflix account. Here's the thing, I see some people don't like it, and truth be told, that's to be expected. There are going to be people who don't like it, who hate it. It was the same thing with Peacock too. When WWE moved over to Peacock, people hated it. Eventually people got over it, and I didn't really think that was a bad thing, and truth be told, I think it's worked out pretty well. I anticipate the same thing from Netflix. I think it's going to be just fine. I think Monday Night Raw, Monday Night Raw is still going to be Monday Night Raw. It's just on a different service. That's really all there is to it. So congrats to WWE on striking this deal, bringing in more money to the company. And yeah, I guess I'm getting a Netflix account in 2025. But until then, I will enjoy Raw on USA Network and continue to enjoy it on Netflix. And with that, that will conclude this episode of WWE Discussion. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button down below.